How we doing, mates? Welcome back to The Top Step. My name is Ryan Rowland-Smith. Now, this week, I have an absolute, to take one of my good friends, Peter Moylan's phrase, belter of an episode this week. I have one of my favorite players to play against, one of my favorite guys to watch play the game, and someone who I really enjoy watching on TV on Fox Sports on MLB Whip Around. That is New York Yankees World Series champion, Mr. Nick Swisher. Man, this episode was a blast. His energy was through the roof. My energy was through the roof. We had a good laugh. I reminisced on a story that him and I, when I was facing him in Seattle, there was a certain story, one of the funniest moments I've ever had on a baseball field. We dive into that. We also dive into that 2009 Yankees team, bouncing back from 2008 when he just was in a bad situation where, Ozzie again famously recently said that Nick Swisher was the worst person to ever play for him. That was 2008. Then he talked about 2009 bouncing back, what that meant to him, winning a World Series, everything in between. Man, there is nothing manufactured about Nick Swisher when you talk about energy, and everyone needs to take a page from his book, the way he lives his life and his outlook on everything. A lot of fun. It got me through those last couple of days of quarantine. I am not going to lie, that's when this thing was recorded, but so much fun. Before we get into that, make sure you go to www.thetopstep.com. Check out past episodes, whether it's this season or last season. I have got some awesome stories, some awesome journeys that you would really enjoy. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any further episode as we're getting closer and closer to spring training 2021. I can't wait. 2020 is in the rearview mirror. Hopefully we can get 162. Who knows? Who knows about anything anymore? But I do know this. You are going to love this episode. So without wasting any more of your valuable time, please enjoy and welcome Nick Swisher as he joins me on The Top Step.
No matter what happens, Ryan Rowland-Smith has something to tell his grandkids right here. First appearance of the big leagues. Face a Hall of Famer. Especially if he strikes them out.
Here comes the 1-2 pitch to Junior now. The breaking ball, he struck him out. Yeah, that will be a story for the rest of his life as he strikes out Ken Griffey Jr. and the inning is over. But what an inning it was at 6.
You'll never say that I'm not killing them. Killing them. Killing them. Killing them. Killing them.
All right, Nick Swisher, man, welcome. I appreciate you joining me.
Oh, bro, of course, man. For sure. No doubt, man. It's good to see you, bro.
Yeah, you too. Hey, so by the way, I told you this before we came on. I'm in hotel quarantine, right? And I think about guys like you. I've been wanting to talk to you for a while. I had Eric Burns on the show earlier, right? Like there's high energy dudes. This is a small room. It's not like some big league hotel. Like it's a nice room, but it's small. How would you go in 14 days of quarantine? You can't leave the door. They take your room.
Insane, bro. No, insane, bro. I you know what? I don't even know if I could live in my regular home for 14 days, bro. You know what I'm saying? I feel like, I'd be all like, just stir crazy trying to figure out something to do, bro. I got a lot of energy, man. And at this point, I'm like, man, I got to find some things to keep doing. But yeah, bro, no doubt. I mean, you're almost done though, bro. The light at the end of the tunnel, it's there, bro. Only a few more days, right?
I'm a day away, and they said that I'm allowed to leave the room at 4 a.m. tomorrow. So I'm literally like, I'm going to pack up my stuff. I've got a spin bike in here. I've been smashing out spin classes on online, whatever. I'm going to do one of them at literally 4 a.m. and I'm out. I'm just going to walk around. I'm in Sydney. I'm just going to walk around.
You're like, I'm going, bro. I'm going.
I know. I haven't been up
No
at
doubt.
4 a.m. I've been up at 4 a.m. since I was in like AA or AAA on that Southwest connecting flight to some since then. But I don't care, man. I'm out of bed. It's crazy.
That's it, bro. No doubt.
It's crazy, man. Because when you think about stuff like this, you hear people have to quarantine. Australia's like their rules are, like they're locked in tight, man. There's no wiggle room whatsoever, unless you're like, I think like Mark Wahlberg came down here and he got to some retreat or something like that.
Yeah, no, he's okay, bro. We can let him go.
Yeah, exactly. But for people like me, and when you think about it, you're like, oh yeah, a couple of weeks in a hotel, like, I could use the downtime, whatever. 3 days in, you're like, hold on, how many more friggin' days? Behind me right here, I don't know if you're a coffee drinker or not, but I'll smash some coffees, dude. Like this is like my only, like, this is my artwork behind me. Just I'm stacking up every free coffee cup.
It looks beautiful, bro.
Thank you. Thank
You earned that. You earned that art back there.
I did. Hey, I want to
for
talk
sure,
to you.
man.
I want to talk to you about that too. So, as far as like that energy goes down, I was looking over your numbers. You crossed paths with Eric Burns, right? That first year, you were a rookie. Yep. I believe you were a rookie when he was still with the A's.
Yep, totally. Because I came, and right after that, that's when Burnsy signed with the Diamondbacks, right? That's when he went over to the Diamondbacks and had a tremendous breakout year. I mean, listen, bro, he was a stud back at UCLA. I saw him as a stud, bro. Some of the outfield plays, because at the time, if you remember, man, Burnsy was the human crash dummy.
Yeah.
Like he would dive into walls, bro. He would full extension layout for things that literally would put people in the hospital. But that was just the way he went about his game, right?
Yeah.
And even to today, the energy he brings on MLB, he does a tremendous job. If you follow him on Instagram, him and his kid, the battles they have back and forth, he's tremendous. And for myself, I learned a lot from him because it kind of let me and reminded me that like, hey, you can be this hyper and still be successful in this game. So for me and him, even though it was a short, brief time together, it was great to be able to see that somebody like that had that same energy level could be as successful as I wanted to be, right?
When you first came up as a rookie, right? Because when you're a rookie, especially back then, it's a little bit different now. Guys walk into a clubhouse now and they there's not the same treatment, I guess. They're way more comfortable right away. But this is obviously your personality. This is you. I mean, this is not something that you have to manufacture. But when you're a rookie, is that how you were that first couple days walking into the big leagues?
Oh, bro. I mean, at the end of the day, I always say, man, you got to be you, right? Like there's only one you and you got to rock. And for myself, I've always been that type of guy, right? I've never been shy of being myself. If that pissed some people off, then I apologize. My heart is in the right place. But at the end of the day, for somebody like me, I am who I am. My heart is on my sleeve. You know exactly how I'm feeling all the time. But definitely, bro, I got beat down a little bit, dude, when I first got to the show by some veteran guys because, by the way, man, back in the day, you were supposed to be seen and not heard.
Exactly.
Well, I'm the other way, bro. You hear me before you see me. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely got pounded on a little bit by some of those guys. But at the end of all that, some guys might take that to heart. But for me, I really realized that, like, the reason why these dudes were pounding on me the way that they were was because they really actually cared for me and they wanted to kind of teach me in that big brother way, even though at the end of the day, I work differently, bro. I'm the type of guy, like, if you give me a hug, like, I'll run through a brick wall for you. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, you don't have to yell at me. You don't have to pound on me. You don't have to tell me, like, this is how it has to be done. I'm one of those love guys, right? Like, I love being loved, right? And so I think if those guys maybe took that approach or maybe took the time to get to know me a little bit better earlier, then it might have been a better relationship out of the gates. It was a little rocky, but at the end of the day, like, I'm happy that I had those guys in my life. I still keep in touch with those guys. Like, those guys were huge parts of my career because they taught me a lot. From every single one of those guys, I took something from them. Whether they pissed me off or whether they were my best buddies, you always learn from those guys throughout your entire career, whether you're a rookie or later in your career when you're a veteran.
Who were some of those veterans that beat you down at the time? You're like, dude, what, why you treat me this way? Or like, you're a douche or whatever. Who were some of those guys? But now you sort of realize and you now, first of all, you might have a relationship now or you do appreciate it. Who
still do.
Yeah,
I still do. Still have great relationships with these guys, man, because it started off rocky, but then it was kind of like one of those big brother relationships. Guys like Jason Kendall, guys like Mark Kotze, Mark McLemore. That was back in the day with the A's, bro, when it was Barry Zito, Tim Hudson, and Mark Mulder, bro, and they were killing it, dude, right? Like, these guys were fantastic at what they were doing at the time. But yeah, man, I was one of those guys that came up. We were part of that Moneyball crew, and maybe we were a little high on ourselves and we thought we were a little better than what we really were. But at the end of the day, I'm like, bro, now that when I work with these young kids now, confidence is one of the first things that I talk about. Because if you don't have confidence walking into a big league locker room, bro, you've been in there. You know what it's like to walk in there. It's intimidating. Yeah. And if you're not sturdy and you're not strong with who you are as an individual at the core, it can beat you down. It can break you apart because baseball is the type of game that it can put you in the gutters or it can put you on the top of the mountain. So either way, you're going to go through a lot of experiences in life. And for myself, I'm so blessed and glad that I went through all of them, bro, good or bad, because I've taken away from all of them.
Yeah, it's refreshing, man. Like when I was young and I would come across people who did have that high energy or just allowed you to be yourself, it was like, oh man, this is so much easier to compete. It's
Oh,
freaking
it's
hard.
so great, right?
Oh man,
So great.
I know. I got to the big leagues. I had some salties on my team. That was 2007. Like Richie Sexton used to wear me out. But he
No,
did say,
oh, bro, yeah, dude.
oh man, he wore me out. And you know what too? Like you just brought up a good point because I remember like at the end of that year, he's like, oh hey, the only reason it was like dress up day or something. The only reason we rip on you and not some of these other guys is because we like you. I was like, oh man, thank you.
Yeah,
You could have
we
told me
like
that.
you, right?
You could have told me that 4 months ago, dude. When I was like, giving up, and I felt like shit. Like, come on, man, unreal. So
I know, right? Well, that's the thing. It's like, I feel like even now, being a special advisor with the Yankees, watching young rookies walk into the New York Yankee locker room is way different now than it was back then. And for somebody like me, the more comfortable I felt in the situation, the better I played, the more I felt like I could be myself. Like you were saying, it's such a great feeling when you run into one of those veteran guys that's just like, hey, be you, baby. Like whatever you need to do to produce and be one of the team, then that's what I need you to do. But for me, like having those guys pound on me, like you said, at the end of the day, like these were the guys who were taking me out and buying me a $3,500 suit. You know what I mean? Like, so I guess at the end of the day, there was a reason why all those guys were getting on top, getting on you as much as they were, because that was how they taught people back then. The way we teach kids now is a little different and a way more inviting place, which I appreciate so much more, because I think the better you feel, or the more your gifts will shine, rather than feeling like you've got to be somebody you're not, because that's impossible,
Yeah, right. Was your dad played 10 years in the big leagues, right? Was he the same? Was he the same energy level?
Oh no, bro. Opposite. Dude, complete opposite. Really? My dad is, he's my hero, my idol. Listen, man, my dad was a catcher, bro. He's like 6'3", 240, this big man. And I'm like, knocking on the door at like 5'10" and a half, you know what I'm saying? Like trying to get there. I'm kind of all over the place. My dad is a very intense, focused guy. My dad kind of grew up in a tough era. And back in the day, you had to be really tough, not only physically, but just, emotionally as well.
Yeah.
And so now to be able to see the differences and to tell the stories that we've both had from our big league careers, they're way different, right? Like, I'm like, man, I had so much fun. And my dad was like, man, I was really focusing so hard on what I was doing. But at the end of the day, like you're saying, you got to be you. Like, and that's what worked for my father. That's what kept him in the big leagues for 10 years. There's not a whole lot of people that can say they've done that. Yeah. And so for myself, even though I learned a lot from him and listened to all the stories in the whole nine, I ended up finding my own way and the way that it worked best for me, because I quickly realized in professional baseball, you are your own coach. Because at the end of the day, bro, your pretty face is on the front of that baseball card. Guess whose stats are on the back? Right. Yours. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So at the end of the day, I quickly realized that I had to be able to stand on my own 2 feet and be my own coach, because in the hardest of times is when I needed people most. And sometimes they weren't always there,
Did you ever feel the pressure as a kid? Obviously, you weren't old enough when he was playing in the big leagues to really witness it and to be in the clubhouse, because I always see these kids, like when I was playing, I'd see these like 10-year-olds in a major league clubhouse. I'm like, oh man, these kids, they got it easy, like not have it easy, but can you imagine? Life. Oh, I'm like, they're walking around the major league club. And some of my teammates handled it so well. Like they made sure, like Mike Sweeney, for example, I had him as a teammate, favorite teammate ever. But he made
he not one of the best, bro? One of the best.
Oh man. But he made sure his kid like looked you in the eye, shook your hand, respected the clubbies. But no, the other teammates here, the kids walking around like they're a part of the roster, just throwing their stuff, like missing the laundry basket. But
exactly, right?
You weren't old enough to witness that, but did you feel that pressure? You knew your dad was a big leaguer. Everyone else knew that, I'm sure, in your circle. Did you ever feel that pressure as a kid? Like, man, I'm going to live up to my dad here?
Yeah. Well, I always wanted to be like my dad.
Yeah.
So, I'm not really one of those guys that feels like pressure is all in what you put on yourself, right? Charles Barkley says pressure is what you put in your tires, right? I mean, so a lot of people look at pressure a lot of different ways. I was so lucky enough to be able to have a father who had been there and done that, right? Yeah. Listen, he retired in 1983 when I was 3 years old, but he started managing in the minor leagues in 86. And he managed from 86 to like 96, right? So he got like 10, 11 years, 11 seasons, where for myself, bro, like I grew up, my first love of the game of baseball was on a bus in Waterloo, Iowa, right? And playing tape ball in the locker room, right? Because I was one of those kids, like Sweeney's kids, that respected the clubhouse, respected the baseball, just the world, right? Like, you know, my father was a very, you know, very firm guy. So I was definitely, you know, respectful, yes, sir, no, ma'am, all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, it was my dad and I, nobody else, bro. Like I would fall asleep on the bat rack in the 7th inning. And people are always like, well, where'd your love for the game come from? And I'm like, it came from that stadium, picking up aluminum cans after the game because I knew I needed 2 more bags to save up enough money to get my first mitt, right? Like playing catch with the minor league guys, you know, before the game, you know, like Bull Durham style, right? Like that's kind of how it was back in the 80s. And for myself, like I was so blessed to be able to grow up like that because I wasn't silver spooned. I didn't have it good all the time. Right? Like I wasn't given anything in my life. I worked my ass off to get them. And I have that same approach with my daughters now. You know, it's a little different, bro. Like I got more Barbies than I could ever imagine, but my daughters will be respectful. They will work hard. And one of the greatest things that my father ever told me was, son, I don't care what you do in this world. I don't care if you're a musician. I don't care if you're an artist. I don't care if you're the trash man. You be the best damn trash man in the world. Right. And that was the kind of father that I had. I had a very loving and very supportive father, but he always expected a lot out of me because, and when I go back to what I teach my daughters is effort level. Hey, what kind of effort are you giving this? Is this the type of effort that you want to be giving for something like this? So for me, I always kind of had that effort, and that kind of turned into work ethic and really realizing kind of how special it was to be able to play for as long as I have. Like I try to tell these young kids, if this is what you want to do, you better love it and you better have a passion for it, because the amount of time that it's going to take for you to practice to get good enough to get there, bro, you're going to be doing this all the time.
Hey, I got a question back to having the energy part of things, right? And you know this, man, you've been in good situations, bad situations. You've been on teams where you've enjoyed the environment and teams where you're just like, you know, the complete opposite. Baseball is easy when it's easy to have that energy level and it's easy to be yourself and to have that love and everything else with your teammates. How do you manufacture that when you're 0 for 20, right? And you're trying to be yourself, you're trying to be Nick Swisher and you're trying to have this kind of presence. How do you manufacture that? Because baseball's friggin' hard, man. And there's these periods, and everyone goes through that in life, right? Where just they look out there and they go, man, I'm friggin' sucking right now. In the last 6 months, I can't get anything done right. How do you have that energy where everything's just great? Because people look at you, dude, like, you know, from an outsider's perspective, they look at you like you go on your Twitter account or whatever, and you're just, or you go on Fox Sports, and it's so fun to watch, and your energy's through the level and the whole thing. And they look at you, oh yeah, because he's a big leaguer. He played in the major leagues. That's why he can be like that. But when life is sucking, how do you manufacture that?
Oh, bro, it's funny, man. It's funny you ask that, because that's one of the things we talk about a lot. It's like, you know, is that confidence? How can you manufacture confidence? And I guess I always kind of thought that when times were my worst, that was when I was going to work my hardest, right? That was when I was going to be in the batting cage till my hands were bleeding, till I could try and figure it out. But the one thing that really kind of stands out in my mind that's hard to manufacture is as you get older in your career and after you've played as many games as you have. And for myself, I had that double knee surgeries at the end of 2014. And then from there, bro, it was just like, it like ended, right? Like everything ended so fast. And it was for somebody that was so used to waking up in the morning and popping out of bed and ready to go kick the day's ass, bro. Like after having those surgeries, it was like, whoa, like it doesn't feel the same. And when I got in the batter's box, I didn't feel like I was the same Nick Swisher. And I would try to manufacture that, and it was harder and harder to manufacture. But for somebody like me, like I'm genuinely an optimist. Like I wake up in the morning and I'm like, bro, it's going to be a great day. Regardless of how it ends up, at least that's my mindset to start the day. You know what I mean? Right. And then 0 for 4 with a couple punches could really piss me off. But like, that's just part of the deal. Right. So I think for myself is, you know, things that I would definitely tell younger people or anybody going through tough times is pay attention to those tough times. It's not always the worst thing in the world to be going through a tough time in your life. For myself, those were usually when I learned the most about myself. Right. Learned how I can fight back, the resiliency of myself that I didn't know I had. I had a stretch where I went 0 for 26 in the show, bro. And that was like Come on, bro. It's like you're going up there, bro. I'm like closing my eyes and swinging. I went up with different batting gloves. I went up with no batting gloves. I changed my pants during the middle of one game.
Right.
Like I'm trying everything superstitious wise to change what needed to happen. And the thing that really ended up changing the whole thing was just getting back to work, getting back to ground zero and trying to get back to doing what you know you're capable of doing. Because when you're going through tough times, you try to be somebody different. You try it because you want results, especially in the game. You try different swings for yourself. Yeah. If you make a bad pitch and give up a homer, then all of a sudden your delivery changes a little bit because all of a sudden you want results. And at the end of the day, if you stick to the process of what you know and who you are, that's usually when things work out for the best in the long run. Obviously, it sucks going through those tough times at the moment, but being able to go through those, looking back, being able to see the forest through the trees, well, I'm happy I went through those tough times. I'm glad I got booed in certain stadiums. I'm glad that I went through that 0 for 26 because when you're kicking ass, bro, you're never learning. You're never learning anything about yourself when you're succeeding all the time. When you fail and things hit bottom, that's when you learn about a lot about who you are. So for myself, good or bad experiences in life, I'm very grateful to go through either one of them.
Hey, you're talking about 2014, 2015. You said everything just kind of went downhill. You had the 2 knee surgeries. Did you ever, and I talked to players about this, like guys who are done playing or they're kind of at that point of their career transition. And again, I go back to this all the time. From the outsider's perspective, they're like, oh, yeah, well, Nick Swisher, he's just going to end up doing something cool after baseball. It's not always that simple. Were you like scared or worried about what you were going to do once you knew or you had that feeling that baseball was going to be done? Like 2015, you're like, oh man, I feel like this is it. Was there ever that fear of like losing your identity or what the hell am I going to do now?
Yeah, of course, bro. When I didn't necessarily go through that at that moment, but I definitely went through that when I retired. Yeah, bro, I remember the day that I retired. I'm not a depressed human being in the slightest. But bro, for a full month, it felt like an elephant was sitting right on my chest. I gained 15 pounds. Wow. I was just out of it. I wasn't my same. I wasn't the nicest of people. Yeah. I was very, edgy because I thought that baseball defined who I was. Yeah. And it took some of my best friends and my wife to kick me in the ass and let me know, listen, baseball is not who you are. It's what you did. Yeah. Listen, like you can make an effect on people outside of the game, maybe more than you could inside the game. Yeah. Right. And so for myself to be able to kind of listen to them and to be blessed enough to have them in my life, bro, because if I didn't have them in my life or have people to pull me out of that deep gutter that I was in, bro, I might still be in that. Yeah. And I could be one of those salty guys that said, man, I wish it would have been better, or I should have had this, or I should have had that. I was lucky that I had people in my life that got me prepared for retirement. Gotcha. When I had those knee surgeries, bro, I just knew something was different. And from there, that's when we started taking meetings with Fox, with ESPN, a couple years before I retired. So then right after I retired, I just smoothed seamlessly right into my next career. Now, that was all planned. A lot of guys don't know when retirement is coming, and it kind of blindsides them. It didn't blindside me. I was ready. I've had people in my life, my wife being an actress, obviously she knows at some point my baseball career is going to end, and what am I going to do from there? I'm financially good enough that I don't have to do anything, but bro, listen, you can't coop me up, bro. I can't quarantine for 14 days right there in the hotel. You know what I'm saying? Right? Like I got to keep doing stuff. And so for myself, I've always tried to live my life on this sort of a climb, right? Never a plateau, always at an upward motion, right? And so for myself, I'm always constantly trying to do better and to make myself better and to try and, make a great mark on this world, bro. Listen, man, 2020 has been a shitty year for everybody. Yeah. And there haven't been a whole lot of great things to look at, but I've always tried to be that ray of sunshine, bro, that people can come to be like, wow, man, like I'm a silver linings guy. Listen, man, 2020 sucked for me too. Like we've lost people. Everybody's lost money. Like people have lost jobs, like the worst of the worst, but there's always a silver lining with all that stuff. And I always feel like I've tried to be that guy to find that. I understand how hard baseball is because I got to play it for as long as I did. So being able to be at Fox and have a great perspective on that, I think that, bro, I hated getting talked bad about. So I don't want to talk bad about somebody. I want to try and make them look good. Let them know like, hey, man, this is hard. There's only 750 dudes on the planet that get to do it a year. So for myself, I've always tried to take that positive outlook, tried to take that optimistic outlook and push it and push it back into the universe, bro, because I've always kind of lived by that rule of 11, right? You meet somebody, that somebody's going to tell 11 people about your interaction, and those 11 people are going to tell another 11 people. And how many people do I want to leave with a good taste in their mouth or a bad taste?
Yeah. Hey, speaking of 2020, I need to slip this in, dude. Congratulations, the Hall of Fame ballot. That is.
Oh, bro. Talk about bro. I've been floating. I've been floating since that came out. So I appreciate that, man. You know, as like an ex-player, like the one thing that you want is to kind of, I guess at the end of the day, kind of be remembered in a way or be recognized. And for myself, bro, like, wow, like, holy shit, bro. Like, I couldn't believe it. Huge.
And even on top of that is your reaction. And the reason I say this is not because, you're happy-go-lucky. It's not that. It's more about, first of all, two things. We used to sit there when I was playing and try and do the math on what you would have to do as a pitcher. Obviously as a pitcher, what would I have to do to even get close to sniffing a Hall? I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, this game is so friggin' hard. You have to, like, a lot of things have to go right. So number one, you obviously appreciate that being a player. But number two, it's not this reaction of, and I don't know what it is. I don't know what the word is. I'm sort of drawing a blank, but sometimes when people get like these massive, honors like that, or they do get inducted in the Hall of Fame, there's this reaction like, I'm very humbled, or it's blah blah blah. Like, no, dude, be excited about it, man, because when people see someone be excited about it, they feel like they now have the ticket to be excited themselves about things. That's what I love about it, dude. Like, the way you react is like, yeah, good. Someone's getting excited about something friggin' awesome for once,
Yeah, well, I guess at the end of the day, I kind of look at my situation and think like, bro, I'm sure there's a gazillion people out there that would switch lives with me like in a heartbeat, right? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, bro, like, listen, man, like, I'm an exciting, like, happy guy. Like, if I want to like raise the roof on something, bro, then I'm going to do that. And I think that nowadays, right, like, that's what I want to try and let people know, is that you can be expressive. You can be yourself, right? Like, if you get super excited about something, that's okay. If you get super sad about something, like, that's okay as well. And I think at the end of all that, man, just to be able to like have your name put up there with the rest of those big league guys, bro, front and center. I mean, I'm like humble, grateful, happy, like, holy shit, like, this is absolutely amazing. But I think at the end of the day, there's something to be said about being nice to people and treating people right and trying to do the right thing, because I don't think the Hall of Fame is all necessarily about numbers. I think it's about maybe the mark that you may leave on people, or the mark you may leave on the game. And for myself, I feel like I left a mark on the game in my own way, and I'm proud to say I was able to do that.
Yeah. Hey, I was gonna kick this interview off, and I completely, 20 minutes later, we're completely going a different direction. But you probably don't remember this. 2009, I was facing you. Now, we had never spoken a word to each other before this. I was pitching. We're in Seattle. You're playing for the Yankees. And I'll never forget, I'm facing you, and I'm all like, like fired up, like, like I'm going to war. You know what I mean? You always had that demeanor, like, oh, everything's easy. You do your little like look up towards like the sky before you hit, which was so distracting. It was so distracting, by the way, as a pitcher. I'm like, stop doing that. I used to always notice that. But anyway, it used to drive me nuts. But I remember I'm sitting there going, oh yeah, obviously I know who you are. We're playing the Yankees, the whole thing. And it's an intense moment for me. I want to pitch well. I think I was pitching against like Andy Pettit, who was like my idol, whatever. And I'll never forget.
Yeah, I mean, yes, for sure.
Oh, dude, the man. Anyway, but I'll never forget like a streaker or someone jumped the fence and ran on the field, right? During your at bat against me. So I'm sitting there and I'm kind of walked in. I hear this voice and you're like, hey, bro. I'm like, what? I turn around and you're like, hey, tell your dad to get off the field. That's what you said. And from that moment on, first of all, I shit you not, man, it chilled me out because I was so wound up tight. In that moment, I was like, oh, okay. First of all, I feel like I'm like on the same level as like someone like you, number one. Number two, I was like, oh, this dude's awesome. So every time I'd like watch you do your thing, I was like, oh yeah, Nick Swisher, whatever. It was just like, oh, this guy is having a blast, having such a good time. You're playing for the Yankees. They're doing the roll call. You're doing this. You're saluting out of right field. That year, man, first of all, you don't remember that. I'm sure you don't remember that in 2009. You don't have to say, oh,
no, I'm trying to, bro, I remember that game because how many streakers ever come out, dude, while you're actually hitting? I just remember, I was like, bro, Get your dad off the field, bro. Let's get this game going, dude.
It was so
That's
funny.
amazing.
I've told that story that many times, but dude, that year, 2009, like that, you were absolutely having a blast. After 2008 wasn't a fun year, right, with the White Sox. So then you come out 2009, 100%. You're playing in, what's that?
Yeah, no, I was agreeing with you totally. I mean, 2008 was a crazy year, bro. Like,
right.
You know, here's the deal, bro. So, you know, you're coming up with the Oakland A's, right? And, you know, there for a minute, I was the number one prospect, right? I was the guy in Oakland. It was kind of like, you know, I felt like I was going to be like Cal Ripken, bro. Like I was going to be in Oaktown for like my whole career.
Yeah.
Well, then all of a sudden, bro, I signed my contract, right? I think I ended up signing like a 6-year deal. Yeah. And all of a sudden, Billy Beane calls me and he's like, hey, you know, we traded you to the White Sox. And I'm like, what? I'm like, bro, I just signed this deal like a month ago. I told you I bought a house in Oakland, right? I got a condo in Scottsdale for spring training. Like I was setting up shop. That's where I wanted to be. And then all of a sudden I get traded to the White Sox and I'm like, wow, like this is such a major bummer. It didn't, regardless of who the team was. And not only that, I go over to the White Sox, they throw me in center field and I'm leading off. Now at that moment, that was before all these, you know, like electric, you know, leadoff hitters showed up in the game. People like, you know, Mookie Betts or, you know, somebody like, you know, George Springer or whatever. You know, I was a 3, 4, 5 guy when I was in Oakland. I mean, that was my slot. And then all of a sudden I go to the leadoff spot and I'm like, what is this? You know, but they were like this. Now I looking back, I'm like, well, it makes a lot of sense. I'm an on-base guy, like starting the game off, maybe 1-0, getting something going. But that wasn't the mindset that I took because I was in such a bad headspace about getting traded and feeling like, wow, man, I was just kind of like left abandoned, you know?
Yeah, right.
And that year, bro, it was horrible. I didn't play well at all. You know, I was having a lot of problems with, you know, Ozzie Guillen that year. And obviously he's been very outspoken about the way he feels towards me. But it's for myself going through that rough year in 2008 was miserable, bro. On the field was horrible. Off the field was horrible, bro. Like I didn't even know where to turn. But guess what happened, dude? From some of the worst moments of my life come the best moments of my life. What happens about a couple of weeks after the season? All of a sudden I'm on the phone with Brian Cashman from the New York Yankees. And I'm just thinking to myself, holy shit, what just happened? He said, Nick, hey, we just traded for you. We're so excited for you to be here. We know last year was a fluke. We have faith in you. We believe in you. We know you're going to be a great Yankee. We're happy to have you and honored you're part of our team. What? I got goosebumps because I'm thinking to myself, how does that happen? How do you go from down in the dumps in the worst place, mentally, physically, everything, and then all of a sudden, one phone call changes the whole thing? Bro, after that 2008 season ended, one day I took one day off, and that was to fly back, and my dad and I got back in the batting cage and got back to work.
Right.
Because I was so frustrated with my performance that year, and I thought people were losing the fact that, you know, maybe I could still play the game. But when Brian Cashman called me and somebody of that stature to say, hey, we believe in you. And we know you're going to be a great Yankee. I mean, for me, bro, that was just like, wow, bro, like, let's go. Talk about running through that brick wall. It was like, that was that moment. And then from there, when I walked into the locker room, it was just like, this is where I need to be. 2009, 2008, one of the worst years of my life, bro. Struggled, lost a family member, had bad relationships on and off the field, right? Played bad. 2009, get traded to the New York Yankees, meet my wife, end up falling in love, winning a World Series, and the rest is history. So it's kind of like, thank you, 2008, for kicking me right in the mouth, bro, and just making it just a miserable experience in general, because I learned so much from that moment that I knew that I never wanted to be in that spot again. And so then from 2009 on, moving, that's been my mindset. And if it wasn't for that horrible year of 2008, I may not have been the star that I was in New York. I may not have ever been with the Yankees. I may not have been able to ride the rest of that career.
So you're basically, so what I witnessed in 2009 when, you know, I'd see like, you know, obviously just you being animated, and obviously you were like that. You've been like that your whole life. But a lot of that stemmed, is what you're saying. Basically, a lot of that, like being appreciative of playing in the Bronx and being a part of being a Yankee, and it is a special thing, man. I'm not going to lie. Look, I work for the Mariners now, I broadcast with them and everything else, but there's always that part of me is like, man, I couldn't imagine playing for the New York Yankees, man. It'd be amazing. So a lot of that, number one, a lot of that stemmed from just dealing with 2008, basically.
I think that 2009, I had a whole new mindset. I had a whole new appreciation. I had a whole new outlook on the game because for a minute there, I got benched the last couple of weeks of the season in 2008, and it felt like the game was taken away from me. Yeah. And 2009, I got an opportunity to play again. And the gratitude that I had just to be out there playing and battling for a position, I couldn't help but just show it off. And then when I got the starting spot after Xavier Nady had his elbow problem, then all of a sudden, bro, I'm running out to right field in Yankee Stadium like a WWE wrestler, bro, just like pumping them out because I was never going to be that miserable again playing baseball. I was going to have as much fun as possible because you never knew when it was going to be taken away from you again. And so for myself, that's really where all that kind of stemmed from. And the Swisher salute, the whole nine, was a salute not only for my grandfather, but for the fans of New York because of the way that they brought me in. It made me feel like one of them. Yeah. And even to today, we have that same relationship. So I think there's a mutual respect that goes into that. But I also feel that I've been one of the luckiest human beings on the planet because I'm not quite sure there's been a whole lot of guys that have been able to experience the Yankee fan base and the city of New York and to have that relationship like I have with them. So something I don't take for granted, something that I'm so blessed and honored to have. And by the way, bro, going back to New York is badass, bro. All the time, dude. All the time. It's a great time.
Is there anything better? And, again, man, like watching that roll call when you run out on the field. I mean, is there anything better than that? That is the coolest thing, dude. When they go around the field, man, I think that is the coolest thing. Is there anything better than that?
No, bro. No, I mean, I don't know, bro. I don't think so. Definitely not in sports because they will continue to call your name until you acknowledge them.
That's awesome.
And that's what's absolutely fantastic about it. And so we roll over there in 2009, bro, like me and Johnny Damon, Curtis Granderson was there that year, Brett Gardner. And we're watching a few of the games and, they go around the thing, they start with Alex, you're A-Rod, right? And he kind of does the glove thing. And then they're going to Derek Jeter. He kind of does the glove thing too. Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, like, bro, we're outfielders, man. We're swaggy. Like, we got to do something way different than this.
Yeah.
Right? So that was when Brett Gardner started his little flex, right? Curtis Granderson, Johnny Damon was doing his little point thing.
I remember that.
I did my salute.
Yeah.
Curtis kind of did his little step back. I mean, that was really when all that really kind of came to be because other than that, I don't really remember anybody kind of being animated about like kind of when their name was called because the captain set the tone there, bro. Like it was very just chill, very blue collar, get the job done. We play to win the game type mentality. But I think coming over in 2009, myself, Damon, Steve Sabathia, Burnett, Teixeira was over there that year. Yeah. I mean, we brought some personalities over there and definitely shook that locker room up a touch, no doubt.
Yeah. Hey, just back to Ozzie Guillen, right? Now, what was it with, and I don't want to dwell on this too much, but because I've heard mixed reviews on Ozzie Guillen, right? A lot of people have. What was it about you and him that just never gelled? Like, I mean, and talking to you right now, I feel like you would still make that effort to make something happen. So what was it about you and him in particular that just didn't gel in 2008?
I think both of us had some fiery personalities for sure. Yep. No doubt about it. Fire and fire doesn't always work. Or fire, like just kind of going up against each other. Yep. And I don't think there was a whole lot of respect as well. And I kind of learned that really early. And obviously for somebody, that just really turned me off, bro. And, like my whole philosophy is at the end of the day, bro, if you don't like somebody, you don't ever go public with all that stuff. For myself, I've always tried to, hey, we just didn't get along. That's just kind of how it was, like our personalities didn't match. But at the end of the day, man, like, I'm glad I had that relationship in my life, bro. I learned a lot from him, right? I learned a lot of the things to do. I learned a lot of things not to do, especially when you're dealing with problems, because you're not always going to get along with everybody that you work with. You're not always going to love everybody that's either in your office or on your team, right? So you have to learn to be able to deal with people that don't necessarily see eye to eye with you on a lot of things. And for myself, I was happy to have that relationship. Now looking back, I'm like, bro, man, like I was happy he called me out on air like he did, because I ended up turning out looking like the good guy, So
Absolutely,
I'm just kind of like, at the end of the day, like, try and treat people the way you want to be treated. I mean, I've always tried to be the guy, don't burn bridges, bro, because you never know what's going to come back around. You just don't know. And so for somebody like me, I think to myself now, the reason why I am a special advisor, to the general manager with the New York Yankees is the relationships that I have, right? Like, listen, bro, all the rest of the special advisors are Hall of Famers, bro, right? Like, let's be honest. And then there's me. So
you're on the ballot, dude. What are you saying
about bringing? A nominee, bro, for sure. I'm there, baby. Let's get it, But I think for myself, I love the game, bro. And I always will. Being down here in Florida, I've really started and reached out to a lot of, youth organizations. I started working with a lot of young kids, baseball and softball players. Like down here, man, there's just a lot of things that you can do to help kids. And, maybe 5, 6, 7 years down the road, bro, I'll manage. I'm not quite sure when. Like, I love being a dad. I got my 2 daughters, Emmy and Sailor. They're 7 and 4. And to be able to be home and to be a father, like, I'm so blessed to be able to have that. So I don't want to go manage now for sure, bro. I don't want to leave home. But eventually at some point, bro, definitely want to be back in that dugout, helping and trying to be a ray of sunshine in somebody's life. Because, listen, man, like, being able to win that World Series championship in 2009 is something that I'll never, ever forget. And it was so great because it was a group of individuals from all over the country, bro.
Yeah.
All different types of dudes. And we all band together, bro, to form a certain goal. And that was to win. And to be able to hold that trophy over our head after a full year like that, that's something people are never going to be able to take away. And a feeling that I guess only a champion would really understand. It was just one of those amazing, amazing moments.
Oh, yeah. I mean, to play Major League Baseball and then get a chance to even play in the playoffs, let alone a World Series, it's so rare. People don't realize that. Like, people say, I've never played in the playoffs, man. People are like, oh, you've never played in the playoffs? I'm like, no, it's freaking hard, man. Like, you got to be sticking around number one for a lot of years, and you got to have a really good group of guys to do it. Hey, I've got a question for you, and this is something that I was talking to Max Scherzer and Matt Boyd, and they brought up a thing. I was always living off this, I need to prove people wrong, or it's like this grudge. I'm holding a grudge against someone. I'm going to shove it up your ass, this and that. I was thinking back to this. Now, 2008, obviously, you and the White Sox in particular didn't get along. It wasn't a good situation. It brought you down, and you probably hold that grudge, some sort of grudge against them. 2009, all of a sudden, you win a World Series. Was there any part of you when you're holding that trophy up, like you're talking about, or winning that, or having that environment, was there ever that thing like, I've just proved you wrong, or, shove that one up? As far as, was there any element of that, or are you that kind of person? And this is how some of these other guys who I've spoke to, which is kind of surprising, like, no, I don't hold on to that at all. It's a waste of time. It's just not a good energy. But was there any of that, like, oh, I just proved the White Sox completely wrong. Look who came out on top?
I use that prove people wrong mentality for the people that told me I wasn't going to be able to do what I wanted to do in high school, or when I was a little kid. People saying that I wasn't big enough, I wasn't strong enough, right? I wanted to prove those people wrong. The White Sox situation was more of a thankfulness. It was more of like gratitude and thank you for letting me go through that time in my life, because look where I'm standing right now. I mean, bro, game 6 in the Bronx, bro, the World Series against the Phillies, dog. Jay-Z, Alicia Keys, they come out, bro. They're playing Empire State of Mind. It was out of control, bro. And then we go on to win that game. Bro, the last out, the ground ball from Victorino to Cano, he throws it over to Teixeira. There was a sound that came from that stadium that is no one's ever going to replace that sound again in my mind. It was like a sonic boom of joy, excitement, love, passion, the whole nine. And I was one of those lucky dudes to be standing on the field to experience that and to be able to have accomplished that. So many great things happen from all that stuff. I don't have any ill will towards the White Sox at all. As a matter of fact, on my free agent year, a lot of people may not know, the White Sox were one of those teams that were right up there with the Cleveland Indians as well. Yeah. So I don't think there's any hard feelings at all. Maybe on the personal side there might be, but bro, look, come on, kid. I'm 40 years old, dog. I'm having a blast, man. I'm being a dad. I got my girls, bro. We've got animals all over the place. I got a beautiful wife, a great life. Like, I just try to wake up every day, man. Just try to be a good person, bro, and enjoy the day,
Do you get when you were playing and doing some of the stuff you're doing on TV? Do you get are you a nervous person? Do you get nervous before you do that stuff?
Yeah, I do, which is great.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
my father always told me that, when your palms sweat or you get those butterflies in your stomach, that feeling right there lets you know that you're alive and lets you know what you're doing means something to you.
Yeah.
And so for myself, whenever I get little sweaty palms before anything that I do, I'm like, oh, hell yeah, bro, this is about to be amazing, because it's getting me worked up enough to be nervous about it. It's got to be something great. So for me, man, I've always tried to, especially now in my post-career, do the things I want to do in life, right? Like do the things that make me happy. So I haven't really had to do a whole lot of things that make me nervous. Well, I did American Ninja Warrior one time, bro, and I was scared shitless doing that for sure. But ended up making it through the first round, and then that was it. But I love that nervous feeling because getting nervous was like, man, getting nervous for a Friday night high school football game, or getting nervous for a huge game between the Yankees and the Red Sox, or getting nervous for, anything, bro, like whatever it was, like the nervous feeling of like going to a test. I don't like that nervous feeling at all, but all the other experiences, no doubt about it.
So even when you're done playing, right now, you obviously you played for a long time, and it's been long enough now that you've had your post career, and you mentioned obviously spending time with your daughters and your family. Life's obviously different, but I do notice there's certain guys, and we talked about Eric Burns earlier. Now Eric Burns is just like checking that box when it comes to competing and pushing himself, and he's doing this ultra marathon stuff. Is there anything for you that you have to fill that void with, whether I need to feel nervous or I need to feel like I'm like really like, put myself in a dark place, or any of these little things that you need to sort of check that box or fill that void because you are an ex-athlete and now, you're a high energy guy? Is there any of that stuff that you have to do?
Yeah, I think the only box that I really need to be checking at any phase of my life is helping people right now.
Right.
I mean, it's I remember like my post-career, these job opportunities would come up and I would chase these jobs because they had dollar signs behind them. Yeah. And I'm just like, oh man, I'm so used to making money. I have to make money. I have to do this. I have to put myself back in the same spot. Well, listen, bro, out of baseball money is not nearly the same as baseball money for sure. So it's been great to have people in my life that have told me, and that I've learned throughout the time, is follow the things that fill your heart. Follow the things that make you happy, and everything else will take care of itself. And from there, I just started working with a new company called Prospect Dugout, which is absolutely amazing. It helps promote young amateur players to either get drafted into, collegiate baseball or into professional baseball. And we've done camps, we've done experiences. I'm working with two huge, organizations down here in the Tampa area, working with young kids, trying to get them to achieve the things that they never, ever thought were possible. Right. I'm able to be a father. I'm able to take my daughter to horse riding classes every week and to talk to her. Bro, I'm not an equestrian, bro, but I've watched so many practices that now I can talk about body position, right? Things like that. Like those are the fun things because it makes me feel like I'm giving back. I always feel like I've got a lot of knowledge to give. I've been through a lot of experiences in my life. I'm working on my public speaking. I'm working on my, motivational speaking, and my speech is almost done now. And at the end of the day, bro, I think for me, maybe the ultimate goal would be like a little mini junior, Tony Robbins, right?
Yeah,
be that guy standing up there, letting people know, pumping them up, doing the exercises, bro, like getting ready, like letting people know that like your life can be better than what it is. I know I'm a sports guy, and bro, I never graduated college and I don't have a PhD in anything, but I do know that there are certain ways to live your life and certain ways not to. So for myself, to be able to give back and to motivate people and to get people excited about something. I mean, bro, those are the things that turn me on nowadays.
Have you ever been to Tony Robbins? Have you ever done one of those like the 3-day, 4-day?
No, never. I mean, I see him all the time. Have you? Is it amazing or what?
Dude, I went with my wife, and sometimes I was like, oh, should I tell people I'm doing this? Like, is this some like cult or is this some like scam? Dude, I'm not joking, man. For 4 days, you're literally up till like you walk on the coals or whatever, and that's like, but you're literally up, and everyone's going to be like, rolling their eyes if they haven't done it. But if you've done it and you like just get immersed in it, it's unreal. Like it just accesses like energy that you didn't realize you had. You know what I'm saying? We're up till 2 a.m. every day. And then we're back there at 8 a.m. and just locked in. We didn't leave this room. Like I got to say, man, it was impressive. And I learned a ton. That's why I was like, oh, maybe he's been. A lot of people don't admit that they've been there for some reason. I don't know why.
No doubt. I definitely, you know what? I watch all that stuff. I love watching speeches. I love getting pumped up about something. For myself, bro, I've been crushing audiobooks and things like that, just to try and get as much knowledge as I can to try and, give people the best information that I can give them, because everybody's got their own information on something. Even now, when I try to teach hitting, there's people out there that'll be like, no, this is the way you need to do it. Well, I'm like, great. That's the way you need to do it, right? That's not the way that I do it. And that doesn't mean that your way is better or my way is better, but it definitely gives people an option. And for myself, I've had multiple people throughout my life be like, Swish, man, if you could bottle up whatever you got inside that body of yours, bro, and sell it, bro, this thing right here could go off the chains. And that's maybe that's where my Tony Robbins comes into play, to where it's like, hey, maybe it's more of like, an exciting speech, and more of like an interactive speech, rather than something that you just sit there and listen to for 30 minutes. Because, bro, I mean, if I had to sit there and listen to a speech for 40 minutes just like this, I'd be bored as hell. You know what I mean? I'd be like, bro, we got to do something different. So I definitely think that's my ultimate goal, is to become a great motivational speaker, and to be able to have all these great experiences along the way. Definitely only help to be able to experience and to tell that speech to the best you can.
Yeah. Hey, well, Nick, I'm telling you right now, mate, if you were doing something like that, putting on a seminar 4 days, I'd be there front row, dude. I'd love it, man.
Let's go. Let's go.
I'd put the shirt off, jumping up and down. You'd have to get security, dude, to say, hey, get rid of this dude. He's freaking me out. No, I would definitely sign up for that. You need to look into that for sure. But hey, Nick, I've kept you too long, man. I've kept you too long, but this has been fun, man. I appreciate it. And again, this is the first time we've ever connected, and it's been awesome. I've been waiting a long time to talk to you, and your energy and everything else. So you've just got me through quarantine. I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Dude, right on, bro. I appreciate you, bro. Hey, keep doing what you're doing, man. It's a lot of fun to listen to you. The podcast is absolutely fantastic, man. I'm so honored to be in here talking about the game for sure, bro. Keep doing your thing, bro. Hey, those Mariners, they're going to turn it around, bro. They're going to get it going. At some point, they're going to turn it, bro.
I hope so, man. I hope so. Awesome, man. Well, hey, it's been fun, Nick. And have a good rest of your week, and enjoy everything you're doing, man. It's awesome.
All right, brother. Thanks for the chat, man. Good talking to you, bro. Hey, one more day quarantine, baby. You got this, dog. Yeah. You can do this.
Hey, hope you enjoyed that episode with Nick Swisher. Man, I am fired up. Now, again, I told you, I recorded that while I was sitting in quarantine, and I was just buzzing after it. A lot of fun. Hey, make sure you go and subscribe. We've got some really good episodes coming up as we head into spring training of 2021. I can't wait. Go to www.thetopstep.com. You can check out other episodes. You can click on whatever place you listen to podcasts. Make sure you subscribe, leave me a review. All right, we'll see you guys next week right here on The Top Step.